Okay, what's up, everybody? This is Tom, Coach Tom, TL Performance. This is a podcast. I'm continuing to experiment to deliver you a better, more entertaining, informational video and put my face on things. So I've also introduced the rest periods commentary. So when I'm doing my own training, as I sit there between sets, it's a great time to share thoughts and things that have come up with clients and in the real world. So if you have questions that you want answered, you can ask them to me and I can talk about them then. If you want them to be public or if it's regarding your own in training or life and you have something you want to keep it private, I'm happy to do that as well. Today, I want to talk about nutrition and supplements because it's always been a popular topic. Obviously, it's a big industry and there's a lot of information out there. And I think sometimes people don't really know what to do. And I was talking with a person in a man who does marketing recently, who was telling me, he suggested that one thing I could even do with clients is go to the grocery store and just help teach people things. So I'll go over some basics here. Okay. So I've done some blogs in the past, but food breaks down into 3 macronutrients. Those are proteins, fats, and carbs. And then you might have also heard the term micronutrients, and micronutrients refers to your vitamins and minerals that are in the food. And then supplements also are micronutrients that you take as a supplement to your diet, not meant to replace food. So protein of all the macronutrients is the one that is the most difficult to come across. Because think about it, when you go to your corner coffee store or your grocery store, just about everything you buy is going to probably have either some carbs and or some fat in it. You would have a really hard time getting 0. In fact, it's wise to actually pay attention so that you can keep it at a level that you're looking for rather than going really high. And that's where the low carb idea comes from, because it's so easy to go crazy high on carbs in the Western diet that low carb is probably more of what would be a normal carb for the health of a human being. So you're going to pay attention to carbohydrates so that you can make sure that you're within the level that you're looking for rather than getting too much. And the same thing is true of fats. Whereas protein, if you don't actively look for it, you're not going to get it. And that's something that's common with a lot of people when I start training with them. So the light kind of makes my eyes look, it's interesting. One's like lit up. Anyway, when people start training is they don't really know about that. And they don't actively look for protein. And so in my opinion, people don't get enough. Now, it doesn't matter to me whether you want to be vegetarian or whether you want to eat meat, but whatever it is, you need to become more aware and learn where your protein is coming from so that you can plan your meals around that. And then as far as then you're going to build your carbohydrates and fats. And I'm a big fan of eating a lot of vegetables as my primary source of carbohydrates and with some fruits. So vegetables kind of break down into 2 categories. You have leafy vegetables, and as the name suggests, they are the ones that are leafy, like lettuce, like spinach, like kale, and so forth. They don't have a lot of energy though. They don't have a lot of calories, some of them barely any. So if you ate them, you would get fiber from it and you would get some vitamins and minerals, but you wouldn't get much in the way of energy. So how do you make up for that with vegetables? The answer is simple. Root vegetables. Root vegetables are denser in the carbohydrate that you would use for energy. And those are things like sweet potato, beets, carrots, etc. You're getting the gist, I take it, because they are a root. So when you plan a meal, one thing you can do is choose one vegetable from each, or more than one, depending on your taste and what's available to you. So that's kind of the basics on getting down with carbohydrates and proteins. Fats is either saturated or unsaturated. Saturated just means that at room temperature it's solid, and unsaturated means that at room temperature it is melted already. So they're not all the same. There's different things inside them, and nutrients. So do your research on what kinds of fats are available to you and decide what you want to use in your diet. I'm a fan of using certain fats for cooking, but not using certain fats, other fats for cooking. Like I don't usually use olive oil for cooking. I prefer to just use that after I've cooked or on my salads and so forth. Whereas I'm a fan of using coconut oil whenever I use it in cooking. And that's the choice that I make, but it's up to you. And if you have a question, you can always ask. And I can also point you in the direction of some books or some resources that you can look things up and learn for yourself. But let's get down to supplements. So let's say that you eat an absolutely stellar diet. Ask yourself this: how much, if you looked at the recommended daily allowances of the vitamins, and I'm not even suggesting that those are accurate, but if we just use those as a measuring stick, are you getting everything that's on the recommended daily allowance? So that's the first question. Are you getting all those vitamins every day? Because recommended daily allowance means daily, and recommended amount is what whoever has the powers that be have agreed is what is acceptable for you to get at a minimum every day. So in your diet, in your stellar healthy diet, are you getting at least the recommended daily allowance of everything, vitamins and minerals that help contribute to optimal health for humans? When I did that, when I looked at that myself, the answer was no. And that's because not every certain foods are higher in some things and lower in some things, and then you'll have something else that's higher in that what you were missing before and lower in something else. And if you're not getting enough variety, it can be a challenge to get even the recommended daily allowance. So that's where vitamins come in. You can fill in the gaps that you might be missing in your diet. And then there's the question of how much do you need? Because let's say you're a 200-pound guy who plays a sport and you're active all the time. Are your nutrient requirements going to be the same as like a teenager that sits at a desk all day and isn't active? Or you tell me, just something to think about, because the daily allowances maybe are an average, right? Maybe not as high as some people might need, and maybe higher than what other people might need. So you can use the supplement to make up for the gaps in what you're eating. And for those that need even more than that, they can be a cherry on top. They can be the reward for a healthy diet to feel even better towards your optimum health. And you can also just decide to experiment for yourself on how good you can feel. Because sometimes when we follow the RDA and we get everything, we might feel even better if we take more, and sometimes we might not. But that's an individual process that you can learn how to do. And so let's go into what are some things that you can take every day. And these are things that I take a laundry list, and I'm not going to go over everything. So I'm just going to give you one thing today, and then we can have maybe two. We'll see how I feel. We can talk about more if you have a question, but the first thing you're going to start with is a high quality multivitamin. And that's so that you can cover all those bases and fill in those gaps, because that's our starting point. That's our base to build off of, right? And where do you get that? So you have a lot of options. You can go to the grocery store and they're going to probably sell some vitamins. You can go to the drugstore and they're definitely going to have some options for you. And you can go online. You can go on Amazon. You can go ask your friends. You can go to the gym. Gyms are going to have tons of things. And so how do you make your decisions? Well, that's a good question, because in the United States, there isn't a lot of regulation that happens with vitamins. So the FDA really doesn't do much except for require that where they're processed be clean. And that's called food grade. So if someone was going to sell you something you're going to eat, it has to live up to a certain standard so that you're not going to get sick. There's not like rat feces or, some bacterial contamination or mold that could make you ill. But beyond that, the FDA doesn't regularly investigate the quantities of nutrients unless perhaps they get complaints. But as long as they the manufacturer posts it on their label, the FDA pretty much lets it go. So sometimes you don't even know. So I'm going to share a resource with you. There's one that you can check out. It's called consumerlab.com. I believe you do have to pay a subscription fee, but I'm pretty sure it's only about $30 a year. I could be wrong, but they are an independent testing organization, and they regularly test brands for accuracy on the label, and you can get an idea of is what's in it actually in it, because you'd be surprised that it is not always in it. And then on top of that, they also provide articles about different supplements and research and what they do and what they don't do. And you can also ask me, because I was raised taking vitamins since I was a kid, and I've taken a whole lot of different brands, and I have recommendations that I make to clients. And there's a brand that I partner with, and I did that because of how good I felt taking it, as I go by my own personal experience more than anything. And I had never felt so good taking other products. So I think that just about covers it. Oh, let's talk about protein powder too. So let's say you're looking for protein in your diet, because we talked about that earlier, and you don't want to eat, because some people are not used to eating a high protein. If you're not a bodybuilder or an athlete, you might not be used to eating chicken, or if you're a vegetarian, eating higher amounts of protein. So what can you do? One thing you can do is use a protein powder meal replacement to supplement. And it's easy because it's liquid, and it's not going to make you overly full, but it can bring your protein count up for the day so that you hit your macronutrient goals. Some of the options that you can find out there, the most popular is whey protein, which is animal-based, and some of the popular plant-based are like pea and potato, and some people even use soy, although that's not one that I particularly like. I do switch back and forth. I use whey and I use vegetable, and the vegetable one that I use is pea and potato, I believe. I know that it doesn't have soy. And the other time that I take protein shakes is post-workout, because after you've just trained, you need to start the recovery process as soon as you can. I understand sometimes there's going to be, maybe you don't have anything, or you're going somewhere and there's going to be some time that elapses, but a protein shake allows you to ingest something within a really short amount of time. And then you could travel and eat a real meal or something like that. It's kind of an in-between, not really necessarily meant to fill you up for hours on end until your next meal, but just that in-between to get their recovery going. Especially for someone who's really active, it can be really useful. So you can use it as a meal replacement again. So that's when you're looking to get more and you just feel like that would be more food than you want to eat. Sometimes people also use meal replacement on a weight loss program, because liquid food goes through you a lot faster. And then you can use it as a recovery tool in post-workout and post-training. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you have any questions, comment below. You can send me an email at tom@tlperformancela.com. You can follow me and message me on Instagram at coach.tomleggett. And you can check out my website, tlperformancela.com. And of course, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button below. Thank you.